I think we have to learn how to communicate internally with our teams, what the priorities are. We need to send out the right messages to attract and retain the right talent. And, it's also about finding the right channels to speak with the right customers, to put what we do in front of the right audience. And when it's something as intangible as customized software, we all have a challenge ahead of us to be able to communicate that properly to the right people in the right way.
Welcome back to another installment of the Next Gen Case Study Series. On today's episode, I have with me Fabrice Vanegas, who is the founder of CloudLion, a company specializing in cloud computing and business technology solutions, primarily with Zoho. Fabrice is a passionate educator and entrepreneur with a background in international teaching and cloud technology. Through CloudLion, he helps businesses optimize their workflows and embrace technologies, transforming the way that they operate. He's also an advocate for innovative education, believing in the power of technology to revolutionize learning environments, which is why we're excited to have him on the show. Fabrice, welcome to the program.
Devin, it's very kind of you to have us here together speaking. We're excited.
Yeah, man, I'm excited too. Some of the work that you're getting up to here. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's start with a quick little background on who you are, where you came from, and how you found yourself becoming the founder of CloudLion.
All right. Well, I came from, different walks of life. And before getting into this, as you mentioned in the intro, I was in education. So I was a high school teacher for the better part of a decade in Southeast Asia, which is where I was born, but that's a different story. And yeah, I've been fortunate to travel a lot and, work in different industries from tourism and hospitality to, education. And, here we are now living in Montreal 7, 8 years into this beautiful adventure that is CloudLion. And yeah, I guess you know, there's that old adage that those that do, and those that can't teach. I never really subscribed to that, but I'm seeing that having been a teacher has really helped me in what I'm doing now, transferring knowledge and trying to reach people that may be less than receptive to it. I mean, I'm sure we remember being back in high school, no? I mean, is there a more difficult group of people to reach than a bunch of teenagers, sitting like that in the back of a classroom? At the end of the day, we're very close. Even today, I keep in touch with my ex-students. So I'd like to think that that skill set has helped me translate that into being able to continue to teach just in businesses instead of classrooms. And, instead of making a positive difference in young people's lives, I now help business owners make more money. But hey, we all got to eat, right?
Well, Fabrice, you know what's interesting about that is also as a marketer, one of the things that I have noticed happen in the evolution of the marketing space is that the traditional way of us letting people know we have a business and then they come to us doesn't happen anymore because our our consumer base has become much more skilled at finding solutions on their own, educating themselves, creating their own strategies, figuring things out. And so a lot of the work that we do now as businesses and marketers is create media that is education for people. So there's this really great crossover in some of your previous work, those existing skills that you developed over that over a decade of time in that education space. Now that you're here, how much of those skills have kind of transferred over here to make your life a little bit easier in the way that you serve people with CloudLion?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, there's a lot of overlap in contexts that people wouldn't think there's a lot of overlap. Like
Hmm.
if we look at it from a systems point of view, it's like we're talking about different databases where the heads of the columns and the tables have different labels, but the relationships are pretty much the same. Like let me explain. Pretend you're a teacher, right? And then for anybody watching this, imagine that you're in a teaching situation. You have hundreds of students in different classes. You might have dozens of classes, each of them with 20 plus kids. On top of that, you have to interact and collaborate with their parents. So multiply that by two. And then with the other teachers that are teaching the same kids, you do cross collaboration across the school. Then add the administrators of the school. There's grades, there's reporting, there's so many things. So you might think of the traditional teacher as having that stack of books and papers on their desk and the cliche apple that has been shined, right there on the desk. But that's all data, right? Paper is technology at the end of the day. So, I fell in love with technology in that capacity because I'm like, this is madness. Like, this is unsustainable. It can't work. I'm a bit, I need things to work that way. So I started putting technology in my classroom. Then other teachers kind of like saw what I was doing. One thing led to another. Then, the administrators begrudgingly asked me to help implement what I was doing in my classroom across the school. Next thing you know, different schools are reaching out to me, and we start doing this across schools. And then after that, I moved to Canada in 2015 from Bangkok. So that's, I thought to myself, well, I'm just going to teach, and that didn't quite pan out. Turns out the province of Quebec has a lot of requirements, and being IB and Cambridge certified is not good enough for them. So they want to send me back to university in this day and age for a couple of years, and I had less appetite for that. So hey, plan B, which was always, in my heart, technology. I decided to try and get a job in this, and a couple of years later, launched CloudLion.
So we were talking off camera about how you like to, instead of going wide and trying to serve, millions of people, this it really was important to you to go deep with one and really serve them in a way that had a meaningful impact in the work that they were doing. And so I'm curious to learn how your approach was to growing CloudLion. I know that being the founder initially, you probably had to wear a lot of hats. There was a lot of things going on. Not only are you doing the inbound, outbound, fielding calls, closing deals, but you also probably have to worry about the fulfillment and hiring and all the other tasks that come along with launching a business. So, can you share a little bit about how that has evolved your role in building CloudLion?
Sure. Well, yeah, like you said, when you start a business by yourself, you have to wear a lot of hats on that one head, and there's a lot of ideas bouncing around in that head, and there's not another one to bounce them back off. So, at first it's a crazy uphill mission, which you need to have the passion, the grit, and the craziness to really see it through.
Mm,
So as things grew, the company continued to evolve. The second person in my team, who became a co-founder later on, and we'll say a shout out to him, Sebastian. I wanted to bring somebody else that could be the yin to my yang,
mhm,
the salt to my pepper, or whatever. Somebody that has very different personality and skill sets and different strengths and different challenges. And the guy's a PhD, a data scientist, so it was a good sounding board and a good person to help me move this thing forward.
mm,
With regards to the relationships that we do and how we operate, to this day as a business, there's different people that do it differently. Whenever you're a managed services provider and you're a partner to a technology company, we're partners with Microsoft, with Google, and with Zoho. And most of the work today we do with Zoho. And you'll see people in the ecosystem. Fun fact, Canada is the highest Zoho partner per capita uh, country in the world.
no
So,
kidding.
go figure. There's a new one every 45 minutes. So, there's a lot of choice out there and a lot of different ways of doing things. And I'm not knocking any of my competitors. You guys do your thing. But there's people that just do cookie cutter sort of approach. They'll publish videos. Hey, link me on this code, this sign up code. Maybe they never even met their customers, but in the background, they've tagged a whole bunch of people and they do this sort of volume approach. And it's not how I do it. I mean, and that's okay. I mean, if you look at tourism, for example, it's known that four-star hotel industry, they make more money as an industry than five-star hotels do, and
Mhm,
that's fine, but we prefer really having relationships that are deeper than that. So we have a smaller client base. We do mandates in my last 3, 4 years with them because a system should continue to evolve and grow and mature. And one day we do some things, we taste success in that, everything is good, box ticked, we're happy. If things went well as a customer, we're going to have appetite to automate something else or integrate something else or migrate away from something else, whatever it is. So that's what has helped us. So, we say hi to all the customers that have chosen to work with CloudLion through the years. So that's sort of how we do it, Devin. We spend the time to really understand our clients, swim in the same water, understand their processes, and all of these things that business owners take for granted as a given that they get used to being in their own reality. So it's very varied and very stimulating, and we love what we do.
yeah, that's the two schools of thought that I've kind of uncovered in a lot of the conversations that I have is like, oh, we can be transactional and we can serve many, many, many people one time, and so the work is going to find those people to help that one time, and there's a lot of work in that, versus finding one person or one business or one entity that you can serve, serving them with multiple things and going really deep with them so that they become a more long-term client. You have a better relationship with them. You have many opportunities to create a remarkable experience so that you can get referrals and new business from that. What shaped your decision to go in the direction of the latter? And what does it look like for you to go out and find that kind of relationship and nurture it inside of the work that you do?
Sure. So like I'd love to say that yeah, everything was very planned and intentional. And I thought to myself from the outset, this is the exact route I'm going to take. At the end of the day, I dealt the cards that were dealt to me. I played those cards and made the best of this situation. So a lot of people say, Devin, that a business is just an extension of the entrepreneur behind it. So
Mm,
if we're true to ourselves and we bring some of those values and we roll them out there, then even if competitors try to copy us, which they do, they'll never get to be us.
mm.
Like Mark Twain said, be yourself because everybody else is already taken. So was it Martin? No, Oscar Wilde, whoever it was. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But that's it. You got to have that authenticity in who you are and how you operate. So I like to connect with people, like to get to know them, like to take an interest in them, whether it is, our employees, our customers, our partners, whoever it is. Life passes very quickly and you don't know how many people are going to cross your path. And, you do try to make a meaningful impact and go all the way. If there's a fit, great, let's do this. If not, that's okay too. We don't have to force things. But if we are going to do it, let's have fun in the process. Let's get to know each other. And we're all humans. I think we all are striving for some form of connection. So if we feel understood, if we feel respected, listened to, then that's when relationships deepen. If there's a synergy and if there's an alignment.
Right. Yeah. That relationship based business development, I think, is a really important evolution in the way that we do business, especially in a day and age where we're starting to see more automation. We're starting to see more AI integration. We're starting to see less human involvement in that sales process, generally speaking. Um, how have you struck a balance between both of those things? Because I get that that is part of the work that you're up to. I'm curious to learn what your approach was to keeping that playing field even.
Interesting question. So yeah, I guess COVID has made this new normal that everybody keeps talking and hearing about,
Mm,
right? And what that exactly is, I guess, is still being defined. And some people say that this technology makes people that are far away from each other closer to each other, and the people that are close to each other further away from each other. Whatever it is, there's two schools of thought. Some people will fear the automation, like Terminator 2 or something. So people like that narrative and people go into it and some people might have mixed feelings about what it does. Other people are more optimistic about what this technology does. And I would argue on that side, I'd say, I think that this automation, artificial intelligence actually helps us be more human. In what way? A lot of this stuff helps us get rid of the drudgery, the grunt work, those tasks that, are time consuming.
hmm
And what that does when that time is liberated, when that energy is liberated, because we only have X amount of energy per day, is we're able to invest that energy in directions that fulfill us more, that are more interesting. We can use our creativity more. We can do cool stuff, right? So I don't know. It's two sides of the same coin, right? I mean, I talk to artists, for example, guess how they feel about generative AI making like amazing images that would take them hours or days, you know?
Right.
So like can we benefit from that? We absolutely can, and once that's fulfilled, what can we do? How can we express the creativity otherwise? I guess it's sort of like there's always going to be some disruptive technology happening that's going to get people talking,
Yeah.
right? Back in the day, it could have been the search engine. What teachers are talking about now, like, oh, AI, the essays that are written by AI, how are we going to, like, teachers are trying to find their role now. But then again, the search engine was the same thing way back a few decades ago. So some teachers said, you know what? Let's have discussions about non-Googleable questions.
Mm.
So this is kind of cool. It just sort of pushes us out of our comfort zone and forces us into a new paradigm. And I guess technology won't replace people, but it will replace people that don't use technology with people that do.
Ah, to that point, I think that that's such a important thing to stress. anybody that's watching or listening, if you haven't ever done this before, go and look up the headlines in local newspapers for when the kaleidoscope first came out, and you'll see a very striking similarity between what people were saying about a simple toy like the kaleidoscope and what people are saying today about things like AI or artificial intelligence. This idea that it's going to take over the world, when in fact it's solving a lot of major problems that we've had. If only we were to be a little bit more intentional about the way that we interact with these things, we might be able to get there faster. And so I think that that's a good point that you make, Fabrice, to understand that the technology is by itself nothing. It becomes something when we are able to interact with it in a way that is creating value or creating something valuable for others, and that's really important for us to all kind of collectively understand if we're to continue to innovate in the space. So on that note, Fabrice, what if we look forward, what are some of the big goals that you guys are aiming at with CloudLion, and what are you hoping to achieve in the coming years?
Well, we're really excited about the prospect of you know, not just selling a suite of tools, not just configuring it, not just integrating it. We want to build with it and we want to go
Mhm.
bigger. So I guess, grass is greener on the other side of the fence. All product companies want to become service companies. All service companies want to become product companies. But what we'd really like to be able to do is to be able to flex that full stack development side of things, to not just talk about AI, but build with it. We're fortunate enough to have, machine learning engineers in our team, DevOps specialists. We have a highly technical team. So I know you guys are the heroes behind this whole thing. Like all credit goes to you. So the talent that we have on our bench will permit us to really dream crazy things, push the envelope, and really bring something different to the table. So while that might sound like fluff, let me see if I can ground it into something more specific without giving too much away, because we are doing some R&D heavy stuff right now.
Mhm.
But we'd like to really change the way that business owners interact with systems. Everybody's bombarded. Everybody has too many tabs open on their browser. Everybody has too many widgets, too many portals, too many reports and dashboards. It's too much, right? We're all drinking from waterfalls simultaneously, and it's madness.
Yeah.
People have their coffee in the morning, they blink, and it's 5 o'clock. So how can we, how can we tap into that inner child that we all still have? Make this fun. How can we make these systems meaningful and have them actually play a role in people's lives where even if you're not, a technologist, or even if you're not in a technical role, you should not have an apprehension or a fear for technology. Embrace it and, have it work for you instead of force yourself to work with it.
Right. Really good point. What sort of challenges do you see yourself facing, and what do you plan to do to kind of help mitigate some of those challenges?
Well, I think there's a lot of forces in the market right now with consolidation of different companies, the tyranny of choice, you know, tech stacks that are absolutely everywhere.
Mhm.
The big players changing the way that they're operating the game. APIs that have to be monitored across. This glue that holds things together. I guess what's really important for us is communicating with end users of the technology so that everybody's clear. They say sometimes that ignorance is bliss, right? We use a computer, things work, everything is great. We want everything to be simple. I've heard so many times, look, I want it to be like Amazon shopping. You click, click, clack, it works. Okay, so what's involved for that? What are the
Right.
relationships between all the databases in the background from a UI level and a big data science level for everything to be simple in the front, it has to be complicated in the back. So we've learned the hard way, and we've made every mistake along the way. CloudLion is by no means perfect, but we try not to make the same mistake twice. So we learned along the way that communication is key. We need to educate our clients so they understand the moving parts of what we're building together with them, not for them. That's an important distinction. We're not looking for codependencies. We want people to be empowered, right? They say the role of a teacher is complete once a student doesn't really need them. So we try to engage, upgrade, disengage, remaining available, not necessarily essential, unless
Mhm.
it's like something extremely complex and you have to maintain software. That's another thing, right? People think that software just always works magically. and that there's no upkeep in the background, no monitoring, no maintaining in the background. So there's a bit of that.
Yep.
I think the challenge really is in communication of what the technology implies. I think also um, in diversifying. We have to continue to change. We have to keep up with how fast technology itself is changing. We have to be open to new technology that's coming in, and we need to have the wisdom to be able to separate real new value that's, groundbreaking that's coming out and just noise, because there's so much noise as well, isn't there? Right? So
Yep.
I think we have to learn how to communicate internally with our teams, what the priorities are. We need to send out the right messages to attract and retain the right talent. And, it's also about finding the right channels to speak with the right customers, to put what we do in front of the right audience. And when it's something as intangible as customized software, we all have a challenge ahead of us to be able to communicate that properly to the right people in the right way.
Mm, very powerful. Um, you've been very generous with your time and your wisdom here, Fabrice. I'm grateful for that. As we kind of close out the episode here, I wonder if you could imagine another founder who's out there from your vantage point of being in an established business with some experience in the game. What sort of advice might you offer others who are on track to help them continue to pursue the success they're aiming at?
I don't want to sound like a Nike commercial, but just do it. Don't spend time, debating and thinking every angle. Don't overthink things too much. Of course, don't mindlessly jump into whatever, but trust your gut. Your gut is gives you very good advice. Surround yourself with people that are better than you at things that you might not be so good at, and you know, be always honest and transparent. If you don't know something, by all means, say that you don't know it. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. And what's most important is to never forget that no matter how cool any of this technology is, the most important thing is the people that allow us to build with it, the people who this technology serves. Maybe I'll leave with a parting thought of the graduation of Concordia University, which happened 2 days ago here. A lot of people graduated, Devon, and among them was Pooja from our team. And, unfortunately, her parents couldn't fly down from India. So it was an honor to be there with Navina, another colleague. And I was watching the commencement address, and the speaker said something that stuck, which was, don't fall in love with what your technology does. Fall in love with what your technology means. And,
Mm.
it kind of struck a chord. And at the end of the day, it just means that it makes a positive difference in the lives of people. Like, we should not forget that it is, you know, people that we serve with this. It's we connect with people, right? One of the unwritten rules of business is people will do business with the people that they connect with. So, read all the business theory in the world and, do all the studies and the frameworks and the rubrics, that you have an appetite for. But what it boils down to is be real, connect with people, have that empathy, have that real connection. And that could be with a customer, that could be with a partner, that could be, with a member of staff. As long as you're authentic, you know, all that good energy will come bouncing back and you're guaranteed to succeed.
That's really, really great, Fabrice. That was there's something to be said about just staying human in a very digital world, I think, as part of to kind of add to that. But yeah, really incredible advice. If somebody wants to reach out to you to pick your brain or perhaps work with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Absolutely. Just reach us at cloudlion.org or holler at me through LinkedIn. LinkedIn's fantastic, right? That's the Facebook for people that don't have time for Facebook. So go ahead and reach out, and always open to have a virtual coffee, as they call it nowadays, or a face-to-face conversation.
Excellent. We'll make sure to link to that in the show notes so that anybody watching or listening will be able to find you there easily. On that note, if you wanted to get in touch with me and my team for any of your marketing or AI needs, you can visit nextgengrowth.com. Otherwise, that's it for this episode. Thanks for joining us for this conversation, and I will see you in the next.